You wake up tired, you rush through the day, and no matter how much you do, it still feels like something's missing, like your life is stuck in the same loop, every day blurring into the next. But what if I told you that just 1 minute a day could change all of that? Not a miracle, not a hack, but a practice rooted in the forgotten wisdom of Albert Einstein, a man who understood that transformation doesn't require more effort, it requires deeper presence. In this video, I'll show you a 1-minute shift that can rewire your mind, unlock clarity, and begin changing your life in just 7 days. If you've been searching for peace, purpose, or just a way to feel like yourself again, stay with me, because it's not about doing more. It's about doing the right thing. Intention. And it only takes 1 minute. You wake up, and before your feet even touch the floor, your mind is racing. You're already checking your to-do list, already worried about time, already chasing the next thing. Sound familiar? It's not that you're lazy, you're exhausted. Not because you've done too little, but because your mind never gets a break. You're always thinking, solving, fixing, helping, moving. And even when you're sitting still, your thoughts are sprinting miles ahead. You're productive, but disconnected. You're busy, but not present. And here's the hardest part to admit. You don't even know what stillness feels like anymore. Silence feels uncomfortable. Doing nothing feels like failure. You've built your identity around movement, always having something to do, something to prove, someone to help. But what if I told you that 1 minute, just 60 seconds, could change that? Not a complicated meditation, not a long ritual, just 1 minute of choosing to return to yourself fully. A moment of breathing, noticing, being, not doing. Einstein once said, "Time is an illusion." And yet we live like it's everything, always racing against it, trying to control it, scared of wasting it. But the real tragedy isn't running out of time. It's never actually being in it. You can be alive for 80 years and never feel 1 minute of true presence. Or you can choose to start today with 1. So here's the invitation. What would happen if, once a day, you stopped everything and simply noticed that you're alive? Not your calendar, not your inbox, not the world's expectations, just you. 1 minute, that's all. But it might be the most honest minute you've had in years. Let me ask you something. Have you ever set a big goal, one that truly mattered, and found yourself overwhelmed before you even began? You start with motivation. You make the list. You plan the steps. But somewhere between dreaming and doing, the weight of it all makes you freeze. Not because you're not capable, but because the mountain looks too high from the bottom. This is where most people stop. They wait for a better day, a bigger push, a perfect plan. But what if the problem isn't the size of your dream? It's the way you're trying to get there. Einstein once said, "Everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler." What he meant wasn't just about physics. It was about life. Real change, lasting change, doesn't come from massive, dramatic shifts. It comes from small, consistent actions, done with intention. Let's call them micro-habits, tiny choices, 1 breath, 1 shift in posture, 1 truthful answer instead of a polite lie, 1 glass of water before coffee, 1 minute of stillness before screen time. These things may seem insignificant, but they aren't, because every micro-habit is a message to your subconscious. It says, "I'm becoming someone new." Let me tell you about a man named Jonas. He was a high performer, CEO, father, leader. On the outside, he had it all. But inside, he was exhausted, numb, disconnected. He told himself for years, "I need to take better care of myself." But he never had time. Then one day, after another long meeting where he felt completely invisible, in his own life, he walked into his office, shut the door, and sat down, not to work, but just to breathe. For 60 seconds, he did nothing, just listened to the sound of his breath. It felt strange at first, almost silly. But for the first time in years, he realized, I'm here, I'm alive. I'm more than what I produce. He started doing that every morning, just 1 minute, then 2, then 5. Within weeks, everything shifted, not because his schedule changed, but because he changed. His nervous system recalibrated. His decisions came from clarity, not urgency. His family noticed. His team noticed. He noticed. And it all began with 1 minute. That's the kind of shift I'm inviting you into. Because here's what Einstein knew, and what most of us forget. The universe itself is made of tiny particles, invisible forces, subtle energies. It's not the big things that move reality, it's the accumulation of small ones. So when you ignore the small moment, the breath, the pause, you're ignoring the most powerful place where transformation lives. You don't need to change your whole life today. You just need to change your relationship with the moment you're in. Take one action daily that reminds your nervous system, we are safe. We are present. We are not machines. Drink water when your brain wants coffee. Step outside and let sunlight touch your face. Put your hand on your heart and ask, how are you? Really? That's not wasted time. That's remembered time. So, if you've been feeling lost, stuck, overwhelmed by all the changes you think you need to make, start here. A minute. 1 minute where you don't scroll. 1 minute where you don't perform. 1 minute where you just exist. Because that 1 minute, it might just be the first time you've truly met yourself. And the more you meet yourself, the less you'll need to be validated by a world that's addicted to noise. ChatGPT said, here is the next topic rewritten in a deeply human, emotionally resonant tone in a clear narrative format. Approx. 5,000 characters. Topic 3. The hidden burnout of always trying to do more, and how Einstein escaped it. Let me ask you a question that might sting a little. Why do you always feel like you're behind? Why? Is it that no matter how many hours you work, how many tasks you complete, or how productive your day was, something inside still whispers, it's not enough? You end the day exhausted, not because you were lazy, but because your mind never stopped sprinting. Always calculating, always planning, always pushing. And worst of all, the more you achieve, the emptier it feels. You see, this isn't about time management. It's not even about productivity. It's about a silent burnout that lives beneath the surface, the kind that comes from constantly proving your worth through how much you do. It's the burnout of being addicted to progress. Einstein once said, a calm and modest life brings more happiness than the pursuit of success combined with constant restlessness. He knew. The man who changed science forever didn't live in a constant hustle. He walked slowly. He took long baths. He played the violin. He stared at the sky for hours. And in that stillness, ideas arrived. Because real genius isn't built in burnout. It's born in being, but somewhere along the way, we forgot that. We started treating rest like a reward instead of a right. We started believing that if we weren't producing, we weren't valuable. That stillness was laziness. That peace was unproductive. And so now, even when your body stops, your mind keeps racing. Because rest has become unsafe. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Mira. Everyone admired her. She was the strong one, the reliable one, the overachiever. But every night she would lie in bed, eyes wide open, thinking about everything she hadn't done. Not because it was urgent, but because her nervous system was wired to fear stillness. One day, her body gave out. Panic attacks, brain fog, emotional exhaustion, not from trauma, but from never slowing down. Her doctor didn't prescribe more vitamins or a new morning routine. He gave her one assignment: Do nothing for 5 minutes a day. She laughed. That's easy. But when she tried, she panicked. Her brain fought it. Her guilt screamed. She didn't know how to just be. Because when you spend your life performing usefulness, you forget that you're already worthy, even in stillness. That's the real cost of always trying to do more. You lose the ability to feel joy in simply being alive. So let's get honest. You don't need another productivity hack that trusts peace. You need to remember what Einstein remembered, that the quiet moments are the fertile ground where the breakthroughs bloom. So here's your practice. Simple, but not easy. Every day, give yourself 60 seconds of stillness. No phone. No goals, just breath, just presence. You'll feel resistance. You'll feel silly. You'll feel the urge to get back to work. That's normal. It's not failure, it's detox, because you've been taught to fear your own presence. But if you can sit with that discomfort, even for 1 minute a day, something begins to shift. Your mind softens. Your breath slows. Your self-worth detaches from your output. And then, in that stillness, new clarity arrives. Not the kind that comes from effort, the kind that only comes when you stop striving long enough to receive it. Einstein knew this. He didn't chase answers. He created space for them, and you can too. So if you're feeling drained by doing, if you're tired of treating life like a checklist, if your soul is aching for quiet, try this. Put one hand over your heart, close your eyes, and whisper to yourself, I am allowed to rest. I am enough, even when I'm not producing. Repeat it until it feels less foreign. And when it finally feels true, that's when your real power begins to return. Not from doing more, but from finally allowing yourself to just be. Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time your mind was truly quiet, not distracted, not entertained, not numbed, but silent? For most people, the answer is, I don't remember, and that's not your fault. We live in a world designed to keep your mind busy. From the moment you wake up, noise rushes in, notifications, emails, thoughts, plans, doubts. You don't even make it to the bathroom before your brain is spinning with things to do, fix, check, compare. And here's the hidden cost of all that: noise. You forget what your own voice sounds like. You forget the feeling of inner stillness, the place where wisdom lives, not just knowledge. The place Einstein spent most of his life trying to stay close to. You see, Einstein wasn't always working. He wasn't always solving equations. In fact, many of his most important discoveries came not in the lab, but in solitude. He once said, I live in that solitude which is painful in youth, but delicious in the years of maturity. He knew what most of us forget, that silence isn't emptiness, it's space, and space is where clarity lives. But the modern world doesn't teach you how to be still. It teaches you how to be fast, productive, responsive, available 24/7. And somewhere along the way, you traded peace for performance. You stopped sitting in silence because it felt useless. But here's what Einstein, and every great mind before and after him, would tell you. Silence is not useless. It's essential. Because in silence, the dust settles. In silence, your nervous system softens. In silence, the truth rises. Not the loud truth of the world, but the soft, subtle wisdom of your soul. But let's get real. Silence is uncomfortable at first. When you sit without distraction, the mind resists. It screams. It brings up every fear you've buried, every unfinished story, every voice that says, you should be doing something. And most people stop right there. They turn the music back on. They scroll again. They run from the quiet. Not because silence is bad, but because it reflects what we haven't made peace with yet. But here's the secret. If you can sit through the storm, if you can breathe through the discomfort, if you can stay just long enough for your mind to stop shouting, you'll hear something you haven't heard in a long time. Yourself. The real you. The one underneath the conditioning, the pressure, the performance, speaks in whispers, and you can only hear it in stillness. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named David who was always on. He ran 2 businesses, had a family, volunteered on weekends, and even meditated, but only to improve his productivity. He never truly stopped. One day during a 3-day retreat, he was asked to sit in silence for 1 hour. No phone, no notebook. Just him and his breath. At first, it felt like torture. Then it felt like sadness. Then it felt like clarity. By the end of that hour, tears were running down his face. Not from pain, but from remembrance. For the first time in years, he had remembered who he was beneath the noise. It wasn't dramatic, but it changed everything. Because that's what silence gives you. It doesn't solve your problems. It brings you back to the part of you that already knows the next step. But you can't force that wisdom to arrive. You have to create space for it. So if you've been feeling foggy, if your mind never slows down, if you've been waiting for clarity, direction, purpose, don't scroll harder, don't hustle more. Stop, just for 5 minutes today. Sit without input. No phone, no music, no journal, no fixing, just breath, just presence, just you. And if your mind gets loud, let it. If your body fidgets, let it. If it feels boring, let it. Because something is happening, even if you can't see it yet. Your nervous system is relearning that stillness is safe. Your soul is resurfacing. Your inner Einstein. The part of you that knows how to listen to intuition, not just information, is waking up. And when it does, you'll realize something profound. You've been chasing answers that only silence could give you. So here's your invitation. Right after this video, sit in silence for 5 minutes. And if you're willing, come back and comment. I'm learning to hear myself again. Because silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the presence of self. And that's the space where your greatest clarity will always be found. Let me ask you something simple. When you wake up in the morning, what's the very first thing your mind does? Does it stretch into possibility, or does it brace for the weight of the day? For most people, the answer is automatic. The mind tightens. It scans for stress. It replays yesterday. It anticipates today. It prepares for survival, not joy. And that's not your fault. It's your wiring. Your nervous system, over time, has learned to wake up with tension, to start from fear, to begin each day reactive, instead of intentional. But what if you could shift that in just 1 minute a day? Albert Einstein once said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." And yet, that's what most of us do every morning. We wake up into the same thinking, the same patterns. The same thoughts that created the exhaustion we're now trying to escape. But there's a way out. It starts with 1 minute. That's it. 1 minute of conscious, deliberate presence before the noise creeps in. Let me explain. There's a moment, right between sleep and wake, where your mind is most malleable, most open, most programmable. What you do in that moment has more power than an hour of hustle later. And here's what most people do. They reach for their phones. They check their messages. They scroll. They react. Which tells the brain, today is about survival. Be ready to fight or run. But what if instead you paused? What if the first minute of your day became sacred, not productive, not optimized, but present? Einstein didn't use apps. He didn't have a morning checklist. But what he did have was reverence for thought. He treated the mind like a universe, not a machine. And that's the shift we need, because the mind isn't meant to sprint the moment you wake up. It's meant to listen, to center, to receive. Here's how you do it. The moment you open your eyes, before you reach for anything, place your hand on your chest. Just breathe. Then ask yourself one gentle question. What would peace feel like today? Don't analyze, just feel. What would it feel like to move from enoughness, to speak from calm, to decide from alignment? Let the feeling rise. You don't need to do anything with it. Just sit in it for 1 minute. Because that minute, it's not small. It's a doorway, a crack in the pattern, a message to your nervous system. We're doing life differently today. And if you do this, not once, but daily, something incredible happens. You start to lead your thoughts instead of being led by them. You start noticing when you spiral and returning to center faster. You stop needing chaos to feel alive and start choosing calm. That's how rewiring begins, not in dramatic resolutions, but in quiet repetitions. 1 minute, again and again, and that 1 minute, it doesn't just change your morning, it changes your identity. You begin to feel like someone who's anchored, someone who's not at the mercy of the world's speed, someone who chooses their energy instead of absorbing everyone else's. That's power. That's wisdom. That's what Einstein meant when he said, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift." Because intuition doesn't shout, it whispers. And if your mornings are too loud, you'll miss it. So here's your invitation. Tomorrow morning, before anything else, pause. Place your hand on your chest and whisper, "What would peace feel like today?" Then breathe into that. Let that be your compass, and if you forget, it's okay. The magic is in returning again and again until it becomes who you are. And if this spoke to you, I want you to comment below. I'm reclaiming my mornings. Let it be your declaration, because 1 minute of presence can rewrite a lifetime of chaos. And Einstein, he would have smiled at that. Because sometimes the most powerful revolutions start in silence. You sleep enough, but you're still exhausted. You take breaks, maybe even rest on weekends. But when Monday rolls around, or even when you just open your eyes in the morning, the tiredness returns. It's deeper than physical. It's like your soul is tired. Sound familiar? You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not low energy. You're emotionally overextended, mentally overloaded, spiritually starved. And here's the part no one tells you. This kind of exhaustion doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from being too much for too many, for too long, without ever being for yourself. Einstein once said, "The monotony of a quiet life stimulates the creative mind, but most people don't live quiet lives anymore. They live overstimulated ones, full of noise, demands, expectations, performance. There's no stillness, no space, no recovery between the being and the doing. And without recovery, even the strongest systems collapse." Let's get real. You're tired not because you worked 9 hours today. You're tired because your brain had to wear 9 different masks. Because, in just one day, you've probably answered messages with more empathy than you received, said yes when you wanted to say no, smiled when you were hurting, made 50 micro decisions just to keep the peace, ignored your own needs just to meet a deadline, listened to everyone, except yourself. That's energetic fatigue, and it's invisible until it isn't. Einstein warned us about this in his own quiet way. He believed that the greatest minds didn't need more input, they needed solitude. Stillness wasn't optional for him. It was sacred. But today, stillness is suspicious. Rest is guilted, and slowness is shamed. So you keep going, even when you're running on empty. You convince yourself you're fine. You drink more coffee. You try another productivity hack. You tell yourself that you'll rest when it's done, but it is never done, because the system you're operating in doesn't reward stillness. It rewards burnout that looks like ambition. So let's reframe something that could change everything for you. You're not tired because you haven't done enough. You're tired because you haven't been allowed to be enough. All day, you're performing roles: the smart one, the kind one, the capable one, the strong one, and those roles, they drain your essence. Because every role you play that isn't aligned with who you are takes energy to maintain, and after a while, you don't just feel tired, you start to feel disconnected from yourself. That's the deeper exhaustion, the kind no nap can fix. But here's the good news. This can be reversed, not overnight, not through some morning routine, but through one radical shift. Start giving yourself back to yourself, 1 minute at a time. Start asking, what part of me did I abandon today just to make it through? Then gently, go back for it. Maybe it's the part that needed silence. Maybe it's the part that didn't want to smile. Maybe it's the part that craved deeper meaning, but got drowned in emails. Give that part 5 minutes. 10. Sit in silence. Stare out the window. Breathe without checking your phone. Let yourself be unproductive. Let yourself not perform. Let your nervous system come home, because the truth is, you're not here to be a machine. You're here to be a soul. And Einstein, he knew that. That's why he wandered, why he paused, why he thought deeply, slowly, with space between ideas, because he understood that brilliance isn't born from busyness. It's born from presence. So if you've been tired lately, don't add more to your life. Take something away. Take away the pressure to be perfect. Take away the guilt for needing rest. Take away the mask you wear to be accepted, and give yourself the one thing the world keeps asking from you, but never gives in return: compassion. You don't owe everyone access to your energy. You don't owe the world a constant smile. You only owe yourself honesty. So here's your reminder. Maybe the one you've been needing. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to not be on. You're allowed to choose peace, even when everyone else is chasing productivity. And if this message reached you at the right time, comment below. I'm tired, and I'm allowed to rest. Let that be your declaration. Let that be the first moment your soul finally hears, you don't have to carry it all. Einstein would have agreed. Sometimes the most important equation is the one that subtracts. Let's be honest, you've heard it your whole life. You're so strong. You always know what to do. You're the rock everyone can lean on. And you took pride in that, didn't you? Because being strong meant being needed. Being strong meant staying calm in chaos. Being strong meant people came to you when they were falling apart. But here's the part no one sees. The strong one suffers in silence. Because when you're always the one holding it together, no one ever thinks to ask if you're falling apart. You show up. You smile. You help. Even when you're exhausted, even when your chest is heavy, even when your mind is screaming, I can't do this today, but you do it anyway. Because that's who you've become, the emotional anchor, the problem solver, the one who never breaks. And slowly, that image becomes a cage. Because the moment you try to be honest, the moment you admit, I'm not okay, the world flinches, or worse, ignores it, so you stay quiet. You keep carrying the weight. You keep managing your pain in private. You keep showing up like nothing hurts. And deep down, you start to wonder, does anyone really see me? Or do they just see what I do for them? Albert Einstein once said, the world we have created is a product of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. He wasn't just talking about science. He was talking about systems, emotional, social, even internal. And the belief that strength means silence. That's a system that needs to be rewritten, because real strength isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about honesty. It's about boundaries. It's about having the courage to say, I matter too. But you were never taught that, were you? You were taught to be reliable, to put others first, to be the bigger person, to handle things with grace. So now, when you feel broken inside, You feel guilty for even feeling that way. But here's the truth no one told. You're allowed to be strong and still need help. You're allowed to be wise and still be tired. You're allowed to show up for others and still fall apart when no one's watching. You don't have to earn your right to rest. Einstein understood this in his own way. He knew that pushing the mind beyond its limits, without space for recovery, leads to distortion, not genius. And pushing your heart beyond its limits, it leads to numbness, burnout, resentment. So if you've been living as the strong one, here's your permission. You don't have to hold it all together anymore. You don't have to be the emotional vault for everyone else's problems. You don't have to shrink your needs just to avoid being too much. Let someone in. Say what's true, even if your voice trembles. Ask for support. Not because you're failing, but because you're human. Because when you deny your own needs, you teach others to do the same. And when you begin to honor your needs, you show others what real strength looks like. It looks like boundaries. It looks like rest. It looks like saying no without apology. It looks like being honest, even if no one claps for it. So here's a question I want you to sit with. Tonight, if you weren't the strong one for a day, who would you be? Maybe you'd be softer. Maybe you'd finally exhale. Maybe you'd cry, or laugh, or collapse in the arms of someone who says, "I've got you." And maybe you'd feel free for the first time in years. Einstein said, "A calm and modest life brings more happiness than the pursuit of success combined with constant restlessness." Maybe it's time to stop chasing success and start choosing peace. Peace with your truth. Peace with your needs. Peace with the part of you that's tired of pretending. And if this message reached something deep inside you, comment below. Even the strong need to be held, because saying it out loud, that's where the healing begins. Now take a deep breath and whisper this to yourself. I don't have to carry everything anymore. That's your first act of freedom. The rest begins now. So here we are, after everything you've heard today, after the truths that surfaced, after the silent parts of you finally felt named. Let me ask you something. What if the greatest change in your life doesn't come from doing more, but from letting go of what was never yours to carry? That one. Belief. That one invisible weight. That one story that said, you must always be strong. You must always be calm. You must always carry everyone. But now, something in you is shifting, isn't it? Not because someone gave you permission, but because you're finally remembering a deeper truth. Your life matters too. Your needs matter. Your peace matters. You've spent years showing up for others. Now it's time to show up for you, not in rebellion, but in reverence, because your soul has been whispering for far too long. Please, choose me. And if anything in this video cracked something open in you, even a little, that's not weakness. That's the beginning of healing, because true transformation doesn't arrive in fireworks, it arrives in silence. In the exhale you didn't know you were holding. In the moment you finally say, I'm allowed to rest. Albert Einstein once said, no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. And maybe the problem wasn't your strength. Maybe it was the belief that you had to suffer quietly for that strength to be real. But not anymore. You're allowed to rewrite that story. So before we go, I want you to try something radical. Comment below with these exact words. I'm learning to protect my peace. Let it be your declaration. Let it be your next breath. Let it be the beginning of a new way of living, one where you're no longer the emotional container for everyone else's pain, while yours goes unnoticed. And if this message spoke to your heart, if you felt held, seen, or softened in any way, here's what I want you to do. Tap that subscribe button. Not just for videos, but for reminders of the truth you keep forgetting you already know. hit the like button. Not for the algorithm, but for your own healing, for your own voice saying, yes. This is the kind of message the world needs more of. And if you're ready to go even deeper, watch the next video. 5 things Einstein said you should never share with anyone, because sometimes the most powerful way to protect your energy is not just knowing what to let go of, but knowing what to never give away in the first place. You'll discover Einstein's forgotten warnings about vulnerability, boundaries, and soul preservation, and how keeping certain things sacred can change everything. So here's your path. Step 1, breathe. Step 2, subscribe. Step 3, watch the next video. You are no longer invisible. You are no longer carrying this alone. You are no longer living behind the mask of, I'm fine. Today you chose truth. Tomorrow you'll walk lighter, and it all begins with one small act. Click, watch, and remember, you deserve peace, not just in theory, but in your bones. I'll meet you in the next video. We're just getting started.